Hi, I'm Ron Timmermans, one of the many hosts with the Florida Aviation Network, and today we're broadcasting live and in the clear from the Central Florida Aerospace Academy building on the Sun and Fun campus. This is the 49th Annual International Aviation Expo and Sun and Fun event at Lakeland, Florida. It's great to be here. Sun and Fun, two words, two elements, sun. Boy, do we have that today. We've got a beautiful sunshiny sky, a few white puffy clouds in an otherwise blue sky, so that's one element. The other element is fun. So if you're here today at Sun and Fun, great, you're going to have fun. If you're coming tomorrow or the next day, you'll have fun. And if you can't get fun like that, you can at least watch us on Florida Aviation Network and learn what we're doing and what's happening here at the show. And with me today is someone, a friend that I've just met this week, and someone with whom I'm her co-host. This is Ms. Tue Coleman. Tue, thank you for filling in time here with me today. And so I thought we might chat a little bit about our impressions so far. And we're on day 3 of Sun and Fun, and you and I have both been working here extensively on Tuesday and Wednesday. But have you gotten to see any of the show? Or
Yeah, after we had our sessions yesterday, we got out and about to see the show, and just kind of picking up the energy of the crowd. It's really contagious, as we all know, and people are here really from all over. I met somebody from England, somebody from Belgium, two gentlemen from Mexico, so it's quite an international show.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
And our guests just before this were from the islands of the Bahamas, and so they're involved, of course, in their major tourism. Their major industry is tourism, and that accounts for 60% of their GNP, I guess, each year. And so they're interested in promoting their islands of the Bahamas, and getting there by air is one way to do it. So we were a natural fit to talk to them about that. And so we've had some other guests that we've interviewed here that were of interest. I think you had someone this morning who was a stunt pilot or
right. Greg
pilot.
Was an aerobatic pilot. That was quite interesting. I've looked at his videos through the years, so to have an opportunity to interview him today was quite exciting. And he was such an adventurous spirit, and he said he's been doing this for 49 years, the same as Sun and Fun, right?
Yeah.
49 years. And
I could tell there was some salt and pepper in his hair. He'd been around for a while.
Yeah, and he was very interesting. I saw one of the shows where he actually was inverted with his decathlon, his super decathlon, and was doing ribbon cutting, and I haven't seen that. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Yeah,
but
more excitement than I need as a pilot, I guess. But I'm glad he's able to do it.
Now, have you had any aerobatic training yourself? Or?
You know, I don't think I'm cut out for aerobatic training. One of my fellow partners in a Bonanza a few years back was into aerobatic flying as well, and he had a Kristen Eagle and an extra 300.
Oh,
and so
nice.
He'd been bugging me, hey, I want to take you up sometime. Oh, yeah, I'd like to try that. So I remember we did the takeoff, and we're on the upwind, and he asked me, are you ready? And I said, sure. And he said, okay, we're going to turn downwind. Now, my turn downwind is like a 20 or 30 degree angle of bank, right? His was roll it into the knife edge and pull it around and pull the stick, and we were like on downwind like that. And I go, whew. And he said, Ron, how you doing? And I said, oh, okay, I guess. He said, I knew right then, Ron, this was not going to be your day for aerobatic flying. But I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do a hammerhead. I wanted to do all the stall series and the like, and spins and the like. And I did get to do all that. But I was not well after that for a couple of days. It took me a while to recover. So, you know, maybe I should just stick with straight and level flying and, you know, the minor stuff. But I admire people who can do aerobatic training. It's quite a skill and a thrill, I'm sure, for them. I love to watch air shows with everything that's happening. I saw a little bit of the night air show last night where the F-22 was doing the demo flight. And
really?
My God, that airplane is so unbelievably controllable. It's just, you know, straight up and until it just virtually stops in the air, and then they roll it this way and take off like a dart. It's just amazing what that airplane can
that
do.
would have been. Are they going to be performing tonight as well?
Saturday night again.
Oh, Saturday
I think so.
night.
Wednesday night and Saturday night are the
like
night air shows. So yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. And I guess the Blue Angels are going to be here later this week. I think Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday. So those are always the big name performers, of course. The Air Force demonstration teams, and then the Blue Angels. In this case, each year they do a Blue Angels and Thunderbirds kind of trade off back and forth.
Right. I think they're expecting somewhere 200,000 plus people will be here this week.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
with
quite the
Reno
influx.
Air Show being the last year, I can only imagine the 50th anniversary. It will be huge.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
year, the 50th anniversary at Sun and Fun.
Yeah.
This is great. This is great. And you mentioned that there's a lot of people here, not just internationally, but just a whole lot of people that have come here. So 2020, I think, was the worst year of the pandemic when they actually canceled the
2020.
Sun and Fun.
Right.
What a sad day that was. I remember we were hoping it was going to happen. We had planning meetings and the like for all the volunteers and the like. And I remember the CEO of Sun and Fun said at the time, you know, I think we're going to have it, but not sure. Haven't decided yet what we're going to do. But if we do, we're going to lose a whole lot of money because we've got all these contracts in place. And so that was a bad year for Sun and Fun. They unfortunately did lose a good bit of money. But the next year they came back and the attendance broke the record of the previous great years. So, you know, just 1 year with being without an air show like Sun and Fun, people go, okay, I am back with a vengeance.
Right.
And so that certainly happened here at Sun and Fun. And I think the same happened at Oshkosh, because they, although they did have the air show, I think in 2020, it was sparsely populated and very much limited in what we could do and the like. But 2021 and 22, and I'm sure this year as well, just like Sun and Fun, will have a large number of visitors and the like. Do you go to the EA Air Venture at Oshkosh? Or
Oh, yes.
you make it there as well?
When I was with the FAA, I would give annual briefings at our FAA area, But actually, I think one of the focal points for this Sun and Fun is the career fairs, and there's something like 16, 17 different vendors here, and they're looking for mechanics and pilots, everybody to work in aviation. So I think that's really very interesting focus.
Indeed. If you were a pilot aspiring to be a professional pilot, this would be a place to come because, as Tue mentioned, there's a pilot shortage, and I'm sure you've heard about that. And there are vendors here that agencies and companies that are looking for hiring pilots as well as mechanics and other aspects of aviation. And so the recruiting effort is pretty robust here. And so this would be the place to be. And if you can't be here, well, that's unfortunate, but anyway, that's a great opportunity.
I'm mentoring some high school students, and they're juniors, and so they text me and they said, you know, do you think I should come and so on? I'm only a junior, and usually in senior year you plan. And I said, by all means, because the career fair representatives, they want to talk to all aviation enthusiasts, and hopefully they'll give them a pathway to, you know, think about and hopefully act out on. To be a pilot, a mechanic, as you say, all areas.
Yeah. So, Tue, you've had a long and distinguished career in aviation. When you were breaking into aviation, were there recruiters that were hungry for pilots as well, or was it a tougher road to get into?
Yeah, as they say, we had to really shake the bushes whenever I started in aviation. And the reason was there were so many military pilots finishing up their career, and they're like 40, 42 years old, and the majors love a military pilot. I think that's common fact because they're already trained, number one, they're disciplined, and you know, they show up on time, and they're sober, and all those good points.
Yeah.
And so for a civilian air pilot like I came up through the civilian world. My last airplane was a DC-3. I flew a DC-3 out of the Virgin Islands, out of St. Thomas. Have you been to St. Thomas?
I have.
In the Virgin Islands, yeah. I flew Aero Virgin Island was the company, and actually our motto was you had to be a virgin to be a pilot on Air Virgin, you know, some fun there. But yeah, so I flew the Goonie Bird, and then I tried to get into the majors, and it was difficult. My husband was in the Navy, and so then we got transferred as a family. We had 4 kids to Guam. And so I looked up who was flying in Guam, and it was Continental Air Micronesia at the time. So I knocked on their doors, and I was, you know, fortunate to get in that way from a DC-3. But you know, we're talking about the 70s, the late 70s. So it was challenging.
Whole different perspective then versus now, where now a lot of these military pilots that came in when you did, they're either retired or on the glide path to retirement. And the amount of air travel now has just exploded. And so the pilot shortage is obvious. It's been talked about for a number of years, but I think we're right in the middle of it, or well into it by now. And so young people like those that you're mentoring, I've got one that I'm mentoring as well, and I'm excited for them. Their
Right.
career is just looking incredibly bright, and it'll be a wonderful opportunity for them. It's really tremendous. And the pay for pilots is
Right.
really caught up with the world.
I was talking to my daughter just 2 nights ago, and she said she came up through. She's with FedEx now for 18 years, so 20 years ago she kind of came up through that hard time as well. And she said, I was getting $12,000 a year for flying a commuter, and we know those, commuters at $12,000. And she said currently, for a commuter pilot to sit right seat, they're getting a $40,000 sign-on bonus. So that would be like
just
3 years.
sign-on bonus.
Yeah, 3 years of her salary,
In one fell swoop.
Yeah, so that just shows you how it really just changes, doesn't it?
Right. Well, this is the law of supply and demand. If the supply is low and the demand is high, then you normally get higher salaries to attract people, and and so for the young people today that are looking into aviation as a professional career, you couldn't have a brighter future. It is just really fabulous. So it's so good. Plus, aviation is fun, and so I know you've had fun in your career in aviation. I've had an absolutely wonderful time in mine as well. It is very fulfilling. Very fulfilling.
I've been in a couple of different things. I was an instructor, I was a nurse, and then I did instruction and all. But I have to say, in aviation, I find the most satisfied employees. Not just pilots, the mechanics, and reservations. In fact, we have a woman here from originally from Hawaii. She was on with Continental as a flight attendant for Continental. She spent 52 years as a flight attendant for Continental. Can you imagine? Yeah, 52 years. So, and loved it. And she's still smiling and walking about and so on. So I think that aviation, the whole area, the whole gamut, it really satisfied people.
It is.
I know we have a couple of gentlemen here who are volunteering, but they're with the airlines, the major airlines, and we're just so happy to have them on the controls here. And they too speak so highly of their jobs.
Indeed, they do. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we often take it for granted the folks behind the scenes on these interviews are extremely important, absolutely essential to what we do. And so we've got John and Steve back there, and Jack and George and Trevor on cameras. And so and Obie is our producer, of course, and we got production assistants, and we got folks back in the green room. And so it's a whole group of folks here that are necessary to produce these shows. And although people watching the shows just see you and I tweet as the host, and then our guests, of course, know that there's some very important people that are working tirelessly and behind the scenes or behind the cameras. So very, very nice that they're here to help us and keep us on track. So you mentioned a tweet, just a couple more things, because we're going to have to wrap this up in a moment. You said you lived in Guam for a while. Was that a couple years?
We were on and off in Guam for 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Your
loved
husband
it.
was in the Navy, you said.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We loved Guam.
Yeah.
We had something OOG, only on Guam.
Oh,
the
okay,
things that
OOG.
happen with all the geckos and all of that. But
Yeah.
it's a little rock, if you will. And when we were there, it was like 80 or 90,000 people. And now I understand it's like 160,000 people on Guam. A lot of military on Guam.
It's not that big of an island.
No, it's not. No,
Yeah.
it's 3x7. I mean, it's a small island, but a lot of energy on that island. And also for the Pacific and for the military, it's a very good spot for the training, with the water,
indeed.
survival training.
So did you fly GA there?
GA?
Yeah.
In Guam? No, it's with Continental
With
Air,
Continental,
Mike.
okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I didn't fly any GA at
good.
They had a flight school with one of the military bases, so those that wanted to fly, they went to the
Anderson Air
flight.
Force Base?
Yeah, it was, well, that's the Air Force Base, right. And Anderson brings up remember the B-52s?
Yeah.
Well, we were there when they had so many B-52s with the Vietnam War that they had to continuously doing some holding patterns because there wasn't any room at Anderson to to park the airplanes, and they'd have to say, hey, there's 4 in a holding pattern. Who is departing the fix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send up a tanker, huh?
Yeah, so yeah, those are good old days.
That's
but
great.
Yeah, Guam was good. Oh, gee, I got married in Guam.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, got married in Guam, so always have fond memories. Have you ever been there?
I have.
Oh, you
I
have? How
yeah.
so?
Well, I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers for a number of years, for much of my career, and so I did projects all over the world, and I had a project in Guam, and so I did TDY there a couple of times, and another project, potentially project in Tinian Island. Which
Oh, yeah,
is
sure, Tinian,
north of there. Yeah,
very
where
historical.
It was, and so I made a trip to Tinian one day, and a very pleasant memory, of course. I had a rent car, and I was looking at the old Air Force base, or Army Air Corps base, I guess.
Long base,
North end of the island.
Yeah,
and
big
we
base.
were going to plan a project there, and of course it's all abandoned now, and the runways are overgrown with grass and everything growing out to what used to be pavement and the like. But I found the area where the base was, and where so Tinian was the island from which the Enola Gay departed from on its historic mission with the first atomic bomb. And so a reflective moment for me. I was standing there seeing the area where the Fat Boy, the name of the first atomic bomb, was stored, and I'm just reflecting on, wow, this is a historical place. The damage that was wrought was horrendous, of course, but I wasn't getting into the politics. I was just seizing the moment. And while I'm there all by myself, and pretty soon a bus comes up, tourist bus, and they come around there, and I'm there by myself in my rent car, and the bus stops, and the door opens, and there's like 30 or 40 Japanese tourists.
Oh.
I mean, wow, this is now an international place, and they came to see, the same thing. So it was, like I said, a reflective moment, so it was great.
Yeah.
So Tinian, all of Micronesia there, Guam, just a wonderful place, and I enjoyed my time there as well. Well, we've seemed to have taken up most of our time, Tue, and it's good to get to know you a little bit better and hear your reflection on the Sun and Fun show, and
this is
share
great.
some of mine as well. So thank you for joining us for this short interim here. Tue Coleman, Ron Timmermans, we're both hosts with the Florida Aviation Network, and we're delighted that you were able to join us. Please stay tuned. There are more interesting interviews coming up, and we'll hope to see you again very soon. Thank you.